Great Britain has an insane taxation efficiency, making tax actually more worth than production at the same development level, as well as even though the maximum manpower is only 90,000, this Great Britain still gets 1.4 thousand manpower per month. As well as this Great Britain can stay at 73 army tradition with almost no more losses per year without any permanent mission or event modifiers. And on top of that, this nation is also super stable, and all of that without humanist ideas. Last but not least, this nation also has 1% interest per annum, and all of that again without any mission or event modifiers. The one thing that all of these crazy things have in common is one single, completely overpowered modifier. That is called Revanchism. And in this video I'm going to show you how you can benefit from all of these crazy modifiers the entirety of your campaign. I present the EU4 Revanchism Farm. So for this video there are actually only three things to say. First of all, what is revanchism and how does it work? For second, how can you use that to create a little trick that helps you gain that way easier? And third of all, how to farm that over and over and over again. So turning the trick into a farm. So let's just start with the first part, so talking about what revanchism is and how it exactly works, because I know for sure that there are really a few fake news out there about revanchism and how you gain it especially. So let's get right into it, and I'll show you an example that I did in a campaign as Muscovy with the console, of course. But before we get to that, actually the question, what is revanchism? And it's actually very simple to understand that this is a very powerful modifier that nations get that lost a certain amount of war score in their last war, okay? Without going over the modifiers, you can see them on the screen probably right now, but without going about the modifiers, the interesting part is the way how to gain that. And it's interesting because many people think that it also counts and you also get revanchism if allies or subjects lose land, which is actually maybe not anymore true, because you can see that on the screen right now. I've actually recorded a little example in a little test game that I did as Muscovy, where I actually let the Great Horde take lands from, first of all, my ally that I called into the war, then from my vassal that was automatically in the war, of course, and then from myself. And you will see that my ally, if I give away my allies' lands, then they will get the exact amount of war score they lost in terms of provinces as revanchism, okay? But I did not gain a single point of revanchism from that, okay? Now the same also goes for a vassal, okay? So I gave away a few provinces from my vassal Kazan, and in this case neither my vassal nor myself actually got any revanchism at all. Which is very interesting in my opinion, because I think most people didn't know that it works this way in the current patch, of course. And the only way to gain revanchism, therefore, is to lose land directly, okay? So the direct war participant on the other side takes a certain amount of war score in terms of land provinces from yourself directly. That amount gets converted into revanchism. Okay, so I lost like, a few provinces, some war score, and the exact same war score of 47 or 46, it gets rounded, of course, was my revanchism afterwards. Just to be clear, that you also don't get revanchism if nations get released or if you need to give up subjects. All of that doesn't count. The only thing that counts is losing directly land of yourself to the direct war enemy on the other side. So with that out of the way, let's go on with the trick. Because now, of course, you could think, okay, I know that now. I can do that whenever I want, right? I can give away a lot of land to some random guy that I attacked, right? And I would gain revanchism. Yes, you would. But for example, in this case, as Great Britain over here, if I, for example, attacked Orléans over here, for example, and, I would want to give them 100% war score so that I gain 100% of revanchism, right? Then they would need to take actually 1/7 of my entire country, okay, in terms of provinces. And of course, every single province basically is very much worth keeping. Now, of course, you could start, conquering a lot of stuff somewhere else and then give that away in another war. But if you do that over and over again, you need to conquer over and over again. So that's like really annoying and really not efficient at all. It works for a one-time thing, but not at all for the entire campaign if you want to keep that on. So that's why you need a nation that cannot take as many provinces with the same war score, because, as I said, revanchism is war score based, okay? Which means that even if they only take one province, if that one province is 100% war score, you will still gain 100% revanchism, even though it was only one province that they took. And actually there is a very easy game mechanic in EU4 that makes that possible, and that is the native tribe mechanic. You see, I've released 3 native tribes over here in Ireland. You can see Thomond over here is one of them, and they all have settled down and they have the tribal identity reform, okay? For the tribal identity, you just need to save scum that, or, try it over and over again until you get a nation that takes it. It's around 20% chance that they take that, other than reforming into a monarchy or something, right? So you would want them to take tribal identity, which in my case all 3 of these have. As I said, it's very easy to save scum or to just repeatedly release these nations, right, and try again. And the settle down reform is also very easy to gain, which in my case I did it with the way that I made them a vassal after they got released out of me, and I fed them a province, in this case Tyrone, while they're having the seasonal travel so that they could migrate reform. That means that they uncolonized that province and then immediately also disabled that seasonal travel reform, and on the same day I gave them another province, okay? And that means that after they uncolonized that province and disabled the reform, they had 2 provinces now, and that means that they could only take settle down reform, nothing else, because they had more than 1 province. So that's how you force that, and then of course you can seize that away from them again and release them as an independent nation afterwards. And that's basically what I did on all 3 of these. If you want to know how to actually create native tribes, it's very simple. You just attack some random native tribe in North America and then you offer them a peace deal where you release a 1 province minor somewhere. In my case, Ireland is a very easy example for that. You can of course do that wherever you want, and that nation will become a native tribe as well, as it was technically released from a native tribe, in this case the nation that you attacked, right? So that's how it works, and that's how you get the setup done that needs to be done. In my case, as I said, you need a native tribe that is ideally a 1 province minor and has the settle down and tribal identity reforms. Now the interesting part about native tribes is that they get plus 400% province war score cost modifier, okay? So, for example, you can see they all have Diplo ideas over here. The Diplo ideas give them minus 20% province war score cost reduction, okay? So they actually get an insane modifier on war score cost, and therefore they can take very few provinces for very high war score. And what I did in my case as well is that I've deft a few provinces over here on the border. For example, this one, Kings County, which I deft to 21 development, and I built some random manufactories in there. Because for those of you who don't know, every manufactory increases the war score cost of that province by plus 100%. Okay, which means that if you have 20 development and a manufactory, that has double the war score as a province of 20 development and no manufacturing. Now you can also see that I've already got 21 revanchism, okay, and that was done with this province over here, okay, that I've gave away a few years ago to this green Irish guys over here, and that's where I gained that revanchism from. Of course, it dropped down since then. As I said, 10% per year it drops, okay? So, of course, you have to repeat that. And to repeat that, I'm just going to take the next one that I've set up of these 3 native tribes, right? So in this case, maybe Tomont over here, or of course, Sligo if I wanted to, right? But anyways, I'm going to declare the war over here on this Irish miner that I've created as a native tribe right now, okay? I can of course immediately go in and, just siege that down immediately, and I actually don't want to do that just yet because, I cannot piece them out for, another month take anyway, so I'm just going to wait a little bit because I don't want them to actually surrender, because then I can't offer them any peace deals anymore. So yeah, now let's just get that done and rush that for a little bit. And now you can see that I have exactly 100% war score because they have no armies, no navies left, and I control their only province, right? But they didn't have any time yet to unconditionally surrender, okay? Which means that I can right now offer them a tribute and they have to accept everything that I offer them because I have 100% war score. And what I'm going to offer them is one of these deft up provinces that I talked about a second ago. In this case, for example, Ormond. And you can see that this province is 80% war score for them to take. And that is because that 80% war score is the maximum war score that one province can cost in a peace deal. But actually you remember that I have 20% revanchism, right? So that 80% is perfectly timed and perfectly well for me to take in terms of the efficiency for the revanchism, because, as I said, even though they take only one province, I will gain revanchism based on the war score that this makes in the peace deal, which is 80% in this case, because they are native tribe and they get 400% more province war score cost. Okay, so let me just get that peace deal done. I'm of course going to lose that province right now, but I lose only one province right now. And for that, I still got 80% revanchism. So now I'm at 100% revanchism with just losing one single province. And you can see all of those crazy modifiers right now, especially the interest per annum over there, as well as the manpower recovery speed. Now all are affected on my country, which, for example, let me just show you how crazy this is. I have now 1% interest, and therefore I can take almost 500 loans of, these 450 size loans. So this is totally broken. And you can see if I take one loan right now, you can see for this one loan, I'm only paying 0.44 ducats of interest per month. Okay, so this is totally broken. This 1% interest per annum is really very helpful to get to the minimum of 1%, because you can see there are a lot of other modifiers that you can easily stack on on top of that, such as the church bonus from Protestantism, or the burgess privilege, or the golden city, which is actually a monument in Nitra over here. But to get to that 1% is actually not that easy, and that 1% from the revanchism helps you a lot with that. As well as, of course, you can see 1 army tradition and navy tradition per year, as well as plus 50% national tax modifier and minus 5 national unrest, so completely stable nation with that. An army tradition that you can see almost not even drops, even though it's at 73 army tradition. So these modifiers are really completely crazy, and you can see that it only took me 1 province for 80% revanchism. And now comes the last part, which is, of course, the farming. Now, the basic idea is, of course, that you don't want to, give away provinces, because in the end, all of these provinces would hurt you at some point, right? To give all of that away. And that's where I thought I could use a farming technique of ancient times that is called the 3 fields system, where the farmers actually used 3 fields at the same time, where only 2 of them were used for, planting and growing crops, where the last one was actually kept unoccupied so that, the earth could recover from the farming, okay? So that's exactly what we want to do in this case, and that's also why I have 3 of these Irish miners released as native tribes, because now I can do exactly that, okay? Now in 8 years, exactly in 8 years, my revanchism will be down to 20% again, right? Which means that at that point, in 8 years, I want to get another 80% war score for revanchism, which in my case I can do for the 3rd one of Sligo over here. Now, what I can also do, as for example, they are, in a federation, which doesn't really matter, because if they weren't, I would just declare a separate war against them over here. But anyways, in the meantime, while I'm fighting these guys to give away this province, for example, for revanchism, I can also fight these guys that I gave away a province earlier, and I can just retake that province, okay? And then after 8 years, the truce with them will end, and I can feed them that province again. And while I'm doing that, I can actually retake the province from Thomond that I fed this province over here right now. Okay, and then after 8 years, I can attack them again and feed the same province back again. And then I'm going to do the same thing while I'm feeding Thomond again with Sligo, taking their province back. After 8 years, my revanchism drops, I can declare war on them again, feed them the province. While I'm doing that, I'm attacking the First Nation again, retaking my province, and so on, right? And that way I can basically be between 100% and 20% revanchism the entire time, which, makes an average of what? 60-70% at the entire time of the campaign, okay? And I'm not losing a single province with that, because I'm retaking the province in this cycle every time. When I'm feeding one, I'm also retaking one. And all of that only involves 3 provinces, not more. And that's what I would call the Revanchism Farm. So just before I end the video, one mentioning goes out for the other technique that you could also use, which is stateless societies, because you can of course release a stateless society and then feed them more provinces so that they get over their governing capacity, which for those of you who don't know, if you go over the governing capacity, then that decreases rather your admin efficiency by quite a big amount. And that way, of course, the provinces will get very expensive to take. But the downside for that is that admin efficiency also affects aggressive expansion, which means that these stateless societies would need a lot of war score to take your provinces, yes, same as the native tribes, but they would also gain like 500, not joking, 500 AE for one province. And of course that means that they will then get coalitioned by all of the neighboring countries and lose provinces and so on. So really annoying. I would really recommend to do that with the native tribes, just as I explained in this video right here. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video for this Monday, and we're going to see, as always, on the next Monday.